Okay, so we've got that wall finished now, and this post is now well and truly solid because it's fixed in at the top, on the bottom with two brackets, and then now coming around to this side. So to start off with, I'm just going to mark the edge of the toilet there with a grease pencil so I can clean it off, and then that'll give me the marks where I need to make sure that the access for the cassette is in the right place. And then I've cut this panel. I'm using the existing panels as much as possible because this is very lightweight furniture board. So it's just two pieces of thin ply. I've got a bit of a support at the top, in the middle, and one at the bottom. And then this is going to peg into this piece here with some dowels to support it. Align the dowels with the tops and the support section in the middle, and then glued as well. And then that will give me the return wall, which is going to sit onto here. There'll need to be an extension piece at the bottom because these boards are slightly too short. And then there'll be another post there sitting here. And that will then give me the shower cubicle. So yeah, just going to crack on now, get some of this sorted out, and I'll be back when we've got a bit more to show you. Okay, so the return wall is in, complete with its PVC panel on the inside. Just need to trim this top and put the capping on, and then the post is going to go in down here. So I'm just going to let that set off for a little bit, and then see how the next piece goes. But I think that's good. And then I'm just marking out the toilet, so let's get that cut, and that can all be plumbed in then, and the electrical connections made. So just about ready to start cutting the hole for the toilet cassette, and I've marked, you can just see it's a wipe off pencil, the outline of where it goes, so I can make sure I don't go that way too far. And this is what I'm going to be using, Dremel with a cutting disc. I've just experimented with a piece of it in the garage, and I wish I'd chosen this way before because it makes cutting these panels so much easier. So if you're doing this yourself, don't use the Stanley knife blade and try and snap it cleanly. It's a devil of a job. Mark it with a pencil and then use one of these. It goes through it like a knife through butter. Anyway, I'm just going to crack on now, make this hole, and I'll be back when it's done. See you soon. Okay, so there's the hole cut out, and the cassette slides in easily. So now I'm just going to use the Sikaflex to secure everything at the back here, make it nice and waterproof. Probably doesn't need it, but just a belt and braces, clean it all up a bit. Okay, so we're finally in. I've got to find a couple of more 50mm screws just to hold the back there. The trim is around the edge. I've got some support underneath being glued in, that's being held with a brace just to keep everything back, and then I'll just finish off with some silicone around the base, and then just finish off this this side wall. And then I think the bathroom for the time being is complete, although I need to think of a door because we don't really want to use a curtain. So I want a bifold door, but it needs to be plastic and lightweight, and it can't be supported at the top because we don't have the height. So you can't put a bar in here really because you'd be forever banging into it. So I need to think about that, find a bifold door that I can cut down that's relatively stable and won't rattle too much when we're driving along. But anyway, that's the toilet there, just waiting now for some 10mm inside diameter water pipe just to connect all the water up to it, and then the electrics, which we'll be working on later on. But for the time being, I think that's the toilet about finished. So the next bit will be just finishing it off and completing it. So be back soon. So finally getting there. The post is temporarily secured. The cold water feed for the toilet is coming in from the cabinet down here, and I saw the state of some of that pipe work, bearing in mind it's 42 years old, so I'm going to replace it. So I've ordered that should be here on Wednesday. Today is Sunday, and so I do need to run the pipe underneath and to connect it to the toilet. So that's the next step there that's required, and I'll put those new water pipes in because those are disgusting. But then again, 42 years, that's what happens. So anyway, the toilet's there. That's exactly what it's going to look like when it's all bolted down, tidied up. And then I just need a bifold plastic door that isn't too heavy, that's going to sit there. So that's the next step. Now this space over here is where all of the electrics is going to go. So I'm going to build a seat just below that window, and that's going to contain the lithium iron phosphate battery along with the DC-DC charger and then the solar panel control. So the next project, after we are as far as we can be with the bathroom and shower, is going to be solar panels. So as you know, we have a pop top roof, so we can't put hard panels up. We're going to put flexibles up, which should be okay. But I need to think about how we're going to bring cables in, because the space for all of the electrics is going to be down underneath this window. I'm going to make a chair or a bench seat, and then that's going to contain all of the lithium battery, the DC-DC charger, the electric hookup charger, and the solar controller, and the inverter, and the battery monitor, and anything else I can think of. So that's the plan, but we have a slight challenge, and that is because the roof lifts up by basically that much from there to there, which I think is about 30 centimeters. The panels are going to be on the roof, so the cables will come down. Now I have to think about what's going to happen to those cables when we drop the roof, because basically we're going to have 30 centimeters of cable just lying around, and they're going to be flapping in the wind, etc. So I'm trying to come up with some ideas, which is basically going to use, let's put that up there a second, if it'll go. Of course it won't. So this is a carabiner, spring loaded, and it's automatic, doesn't lock in place, designed for holding keys on a belt by the looks of it. So I'm just wondering whether or not that can take up the slack in the cables. So I'm going to have a think about that and see if I can work out some way of incorporating this along with the wires that are going to lead down through this roof down to the solar controller, but use this to try and take up the slack so that when it's retracted, when the roof is retracted, those cables are still held taut in position so they don't flap around. Unless anybody else has got any good ideas, I think that's the next step. So we'll have an experiment and play around with that. So I'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for watching.